Let's sing glory!
So, I just talked to Tonya. Who's Tonya, may you ask? Well, Tonya Papanikolov is this ball of energy uniting the wonders of wellness through her recipes, imagery, relatability, and her love of mushrooms. In solid terms, she's a holistic nutritionist, speaker, functional foods recipe developer, and the mind behind the Well Woman and Rainbo, her recently launched brainchild, optimizing health and open minds with medicinal mushrooms. In advocating for her own health, paired with this keenness for knowledge, she's reached a place where, through community and her own platforms, she's providing and contributing to this ever-growing compassion and comprehension we have in regards to the self, mind, body, and spirit. It is people such as Tonya who, through actually having acted as her own guinea pig at times, are providing accessible resources and knowledge within an industry that would very well seek to undermine you in both what you're consuming and your expenditure on said product. So, without further ado, feast your ears. This is Just Mushrooms with Tonya Papanikolov. A quick heads up, we're dealing with an overseas conversation here, so the audio may reflect this. Coming to you from Toronto, Canada, and Amsterdam, the Netherlands. So, as a holistic nutritionist, your work is very much based in the realm of really spreading the knowledge of how to best achieve a balanced self in mind and body and spirit. And to begin, there's so much I want to get into, but the Well Woman and your recent conception of Rainbo, big congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Just to keep things in chronological order, if you could provide an outline as to what the Well Woman is and how it came about and why you chose to embark on this journey.
Totally. So the Well Woman is essentially my brainchild and passion project, and something that I just couldn't help but start and come out of me. The idea kind of came to me in a meditation, and I knew I already had a different blog at the time, and I was in school, and all I knew was that I wanted to get this message out to as many people as possible and just spread the knowledge and education and create an inspiring way of living, which is different and healthy and alternative, and that was kind of what it was all about. It was not about making money, or it was just like really doing something from my heart, and so that's kind of where it started, and now has evolved into it's still doing that. The basis of it is education, but now that I'm kind of finished school, it's a platform that I kind of use to continue to educate. I see clients now, and I kind of guide people along their health journey, and we work together in various capacities. Sometimes it's from a preventative health perspective, if they just want to stay well and keep getting better, and other times they have more chronic illnesses, and we'll work to change that through diet and plant-based eating and supplementation where necessary, and lifestyle changes, and I'll kind of act as a guide and mentor through that process. But really, it's still just about educating people on holistic health and, how amazing plants are and what they do for our bodies and consciousness and the environment. So that's still the main kind of message being pushed forward.
Where did you study?
So I studied in Toronto at a school called the Institute of Holistic Nutrition. We're really fortunate to have that program in Toronto. A lot of nutritionists will go through the online program based in New York, the Functional Nutrition. I think it is, Institute of... Anyways, I can't remember the exact name of it, but we're really fortunate. We have an actual school, 2 schools in Toronto, and all in other parts of Canada as well, where you can physically study holistic nutrition with teachers and herbalists and Ayurvedic doctors. So I did that program. But my love for food and nutrition really started as maybe when I was around 13, 12, around there. And I had a really sensitive body, and couldn't eat certain foods that really got me involved in my diet in a different way, because I couldn't eat certain things, and things affected me a certain way. So I went on to study nutrition in university, and I thought that I was going to go down the path of becoming a naturopathic doctor and or a dietitian or something of that sort, but then kind of realized that that wasn't my path either, and was working in a completely different field for a few years, and then health complications and just kind of a wake-up call, and starting yoga and meditation just kind of set me back on my original path, which was always in that space of food. And as a child, I always knew, like, I would always tell my parents, like, I'm going to be helping people. So I kind of knew that as a kid too.
So it just really spiraled right back to this place of wellness and connectivity with yourself.
Exactly.
And I can only imagine that people with sensitivities towards food, they're constantly just trying to find something where it's not going to create a problem within their body, and they just want to enjoy a meal. Were there any favorite foods that you had during this time where you had to really kind of watch out what you were consuming?
My heart so goes out to people that are it can be really challenging when you can't eat a lot of foods and you're just getting frustrated and you're in this loop and it feels like you can't eat anything. And I really try and get people to not focus on the limitations of food, but really focus on the options and the incredible, supportive, nutrient-dense foods that are available at their fingertips that are going to better their bodies and support their mind. So trying to shift it away from I can't eat pizza anymore, I can't eat this anymore, when really you can make healthier alternatives to those things. And if you don't have time to make them, then somebody can make them for you, or there's a simple recipe or options for eating at restaurants that provide that. So I'm trying to think. I guess maybe one that I've struggled with has been bread. I love bread so much, and I'm not by any means gluten intolerant, or I don't have a gluten allergy, but I'm definitely very conscious on what bread I am consuming, and it doesn't always work with my system. So I've had to be pretty careful around that, which has meant sometimes saying no to my grandmother's most delicious bread and feta and spinach spanakopita. But other times I indulge. It just kind of depends on where I'm at and where my body's at. But I would say bread can be a challenge for many.
Bread is definitely in all of its shapes and forms. It's amazing.
Yeah. Do you have any food allergies or intolerances?
Around 2 years back, I got to a place where my gut was pretty wrecked, I'd say. And so it just comes as being a young person and you don't really know how to navigate that space or the physical body. And then one day, like many, there's a wake-up call. And you're like, oh, okay, I really need to take care of my physical self. I just feel like we're so focused on career or going out with friends or our personal lives. And then the body is a temple, and one day you'll wake up and realize that, and you really need to educate yourself on that.
Totally. Yeah, it's a beautiful realization to come across and to start really believing it and following that. I've had IBS, so irritable bowel syndrome, and a lot of gut healing to do. That was one of the places where I had a big imbalance, so it definitely started there. And my first realization of it was when I was 13 or 14, when I had lactose intolerance and just couldn't consume milk products anymore. Thank God, in hindsight. And then kind of in my earlier 20s, it was constant digestive issues. That kind of runs in my family with my sister and I. So while I was at IHN studying, I was my own kind of guinea pig and self-project. And that was when I was, doing like major gut healing and repairing the lining and, healing my liver. So it was a lot of people are brought into this field because of issues in their own body, and it can be such a blessing in disguise because it allows for that, for those sensitivities just allow for us to like really start to be more self-aware and conscious of what we're putting in.
I don't know if you're willing to maybe open up a little bit to one of perhaps the technicalities of how you healed your gut, because I'm hearing stuff like healing with the liver and the gut lining, and I have no idea how I would approach that.
Well, I was at the time learning a lot about it in school, but I was also under the guidance of a natural healer, and she was one of my teachers at the time. So I was trying a lot of things that I was learning, but I do advise that you kind of undergo that process with somebody who knows what they're doing. If you're going to start supplementing, and that's kind of what I started doing. So I was using red reishi mushroom to heal the liver and kind of just like really calm my adrenals, and there was a lot of things happening in my body. And then from a gut perspective, it was a lot of nourishing foods. I eliminate most things from my diet for a pretty long time, and I was consuming a lot of bone broth, a lot of soups, roasted veggies. There's 4 R's in the gut healing protocol, and you kind of start with like repairing and re-inoculating with good things. So I was using probiotics, high dosing probiotics on at a therapeutic level, and yeah, just a lot of nourishing foods. And for my liver, and I wouldn't advise anybody doing this, but I'm just quite experimental with myself. So I was doing like liver gallbladder flushes, and that really helped.
Whoa.
Yeah, I got pretty weird. But I'm the type of person that, I wasn't doing it alone, and I wasn't just reading a book. I was studying it, and I could always reach out to my teachers if I, was getting into trouble. But that really worked for me. And everyone is so unique. So typically how I start when I'm working with a client, and a lot of it comes down to digestive issues. And in Ayurvedic medicine, it's kind of the gut and the digestive system are believed to be the seat of our health, and that's where all imbalances start. And that's why in Ayurvedic medicine, it's like your digestive fire, and really taking care of that system comes first and foremost, because that's our immune system. That's, the center that is digesting, extracting all of the nutrients from our food. So it does need to be on fire.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Actually, commenting on like that last part, in the mornings, I've heard people say that you should never consume anything cold right off the bat, because that will just douse that fire right out.
I wouldn't advise shocking your body with like cold right away, unless you have like a really strong constitution. But it depends on what season it is, your constitution, your body type, that kind of thing. But yeah, typically, and most of us don't think would do too well shocking the body in that kind of capacity. I would go more the route of like warm lemon water to stimulate the bowels and to get the digestive juices flowing before anything. And also, we're just pretty dehydrated after 7 to 8 hours of sleep. So, if it really works for someone, then cool, like go for it. But if it's like a new practice that you're going to start trying, I mean, I would probably just go for something warmer and, really get those digestive juices and fires going, and then opt for like a cold shower or something of that nature.
Your current undertaking, Rainbow, will be bringing us medicinal mushroom-based functional food products near and hopefully far at some point.
Yes,
but
I would love to get to Europe.
Yes, but for now, how did you come about, doing Rainbow, and what are you hoping to achieve with it?
Yeah, so Rainbow. I'm so excited to bring Rainbow to life, and it's already happening. So I've really loved medicinal mushrooms, and started learning a lot about them about 5 years ago when I was foraging in Canada up north with some friends of mine, and that just really spawned my love and really revering these magical species that are on our earth and provide an immune system for our planet. And they're a really mystical thing for many. The potential to heal us, the potential to kill us, to expand our consciousness. So my goal with Rainbow is really to get as many people as possible using medicinal mushrooms on a daily basis. And there's a big stigma with mushrooms, so a lot of it is going to be education, and really getting us familiar with what they are. They're already in something crazy like 42% of pharmaceuticals are using mushrooms. They are incredibly antibacterial, antiviral. They protect us against smallpox. There's and various other diseases that we have vaccinations out for. But yeah, they're just really, really healing and nutrient dense and amazing for our bodies. So my goal is really to get as many people as possible more comfortable with medicinal mushrooms, what they are, how they can use them, make it really easy to integrate it into their lifestyles, and also just have fun, because that's a big and important topic of enjoying life and doing something that comes from our heart and that is fun to do.
Yeah, and I feel like people are so much more receptive when that is an element that is present.
No, entirely, and it comes across in a business and in the people running it. So yeah, that's always an element, and nature is just such an incredible force that I feel lucky to be able to work with plants and mushrooms and do that on a daily basis.
And how much would you say we should be consuming? Because I don't know, there's so many species and there's so many different mushrooms for different purposes.
So you can consume mushrooms on a daily basis. So it kind of depends on dosage. So you can use mushrooms at a more therapeutic higher dose if you're really working on a health concern and an illness. So there's various ways, but in terms of an everyday use, you're going to get down to a lower dosage, and that will still absolutely affect your body and contribute to your overall wellness. But the heavy hitters and the ones that are really common are chaga and reishi and cordyceps and lion's mane. And so I take cordyceps and lion's mane daily via tincture, which will be available through Rainbow soon. And you can take it in a powder, you can take it in a tincture. And I just like the tincture because it's really, really easy. You can put some in your coffee or tea. And so those are going to be that's cognitive enhancement. They provide, support our energy, libido, athletic performance. Lion's mane is really incredible for the brain, for clarity, focus, memory. It has this really powerful nerve growth factor compound in it, so it's being studied for its uses for Alzheimer's and dementia. And it's just so important that we know these things and can try and prevent these diseases. Prevention is so, so important. And, when we're young and, before any of these issues kind of take place, if we can just be really supporting our bodies, then we can avoid having to suffer through any of those conditions. So yeah, I would take small amounts. You can take a tincture, a dropper of that. You can also brew chaga tea. You can brew chaga and reishi together, and those are really potent antioxidants and have so many benefits as well. Yeah, and then Rainbow will have some other food products that I'll be excited to share at some point that will make the process even easier to kind of have your everyday practices be infused with mushrooms.
I'd love to know, is Rainbow something you set up with friends? How did you kind of structure like the setup of this business? Because it definitely is a subject that can be frowned upon. I've talked about this within my community, and I definitely know that I receive a bunch of eye rolls and like raised eyebrows, and I'm like, whoa, how do you kind of enter a business setting and really handling the technicality of that when it is a subject that is still pretty new to the masses?
Yeah, no, totally. It can, there are a lot of subjects that can feel alienating to many. But, so with Rainbow, it was in kind of many stages, and it's all kind of aligned in this really beautiful way, but I had the idea for these mushrooms and these products to exist earlier, I would say in around January or February. I started kind of like, the inklings of this started coming through, and my mind was being open to what this could be. And so a lot of that was just kind of like brainstorming and really getting aligned on like what the main mission was, if I would embark on this. And because I too kind of like have had an internal struggle with like, oh, another wellness product, like, is that really what we need? And I don't believe in, necessarily having all these things to make you feel better, but I just really genuinely, wholeheartedly believe that we need to be more connected to nature, and that mushrooms provide that, and that this can actually, like, it's a lifestyle for me because I consume them so much all day long, and I get all of my friends that I kind of like bring them around with me, and get all of my friends like having medicinal mushrooms, and they get excited about it too, and my clients as well. So so that was kind of there. And then I have a close friend that has done the branding, and so we kind of had a really fun couple days up at her cottage, and we did some brainstorming and talked about all of these elements of nature and magic and like what the whole purpose of this is, and from there we kind of had this like brainchild together, and called it Rainbow, and then kind of set out on the venture, and she's been helping ever since.
Oh, I love that. It's so refreshing to hear that that's how a business was born compared to so many more of the traditional ways.
No, totally. That's the only thing that would make sense for me. Like, my brain just doesn't operate in a way. In fact, like, learning business has been the biggest challenge for me, because starting this has been like, a mini MBA, because I'm figuring out supply chain for the first time, and financing, and like doing, things that I didn't do for the Well Woman, that are really important things to do, and to really treat this as a separate entity, and to really understand the business side of things, it's been a learning curve, and it's been really fun too, and challenging, and all of those things. But definitely, like, I just believe that one's heart needs to be in the right place for why you're doing this, because we're just at a point in humanity where, like, if we're not building if we're not building conscious businesses and spreading that from the right place, then we just need more of it. We need more people doing it that way.
Yeah, I truly believe that it really comes down to your intention behind something at the end of the day. Stepping away from the mushrooms, I kind of want to delve into, not say like supplements, but I do know that B1, B2, and B12 can be major players in terms of converting food to energy.
Yeah, those B vitamins are essential.
Yes. But I don't know, say a blissfully free afternoon and we can just actually make like a solid meal. Do you have any recommendations in something that would boost overall cognitive function and energy levels?
Yeah, so, well, plant-based eating, I believe, provides all of those benefits. And I guess really just when you're eating that way, it doesn't have to be that you're just getting it from one meal, but that you're really sustained from your diet on a daily basis. Because, there aren't too many, like the goal of it isn't like, oh, cognitive boost, like just for my morning. The ideal place to be would be that, you're waking up rested and that you're extracting your nutrients from your food and assimilating and digesting and getting your omega-3s and 6s from food. But I guess if you're going from like a cognitive perspective, then you want to make sure that your foods are have high sources of your omegas, because that is brain food and what our brains are built off of. So the omega-3s are extremely important, and you can get those from lots of different plant sources. Of course, there's really high amounts in healthy fish as well. But yeah, you can get them from chia seeds and flax seeds and pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, primrose oil, that kind of thing you can dress your salad with. So I guess I would just really go for a well-balanced meal. I really like macrobiotic bowls that will have a little bit of quinoa, so a healthy carbohydrate, some healthy fats like avocado, and a really delicious pumpkin or sunflower seed dressing, some sauerkraut, roasted root veggies right now, so beets and butternut squash or sweet potato, a bunch of leafy greens and sprouts, some hemp seeds and chia seeds. That for me isn't gonna, cause some sort of like an afternoon crash, and is really just gonna give me a lot of energy and amp me up and kind of give me a cognitive boost as well. But really that just comes from like my body being supported and energized by the food I'm consuming.
Then what would you say your eating habits are in regards to the menstrual cycle as well? Are there any certain things that like you intentionally consume around that time?
I think I would actually like to get better at this, but I have a really regular schedule, menstrual cycle, and I don't find that I get cravings or PMS or any of the mood imbalancing things. Women's cycles aren't actually, PMS isn't something like that's normal. It's something that we've all normalized as women, because a lot of the times our hormones are balanced. But really our cycles should flow quite naturally, and there shouldn't be breast tenderness and bloating and all that stuff. I can't say that I eat specific to my cycle, but definitely I've gone through periods where it has been a lot more irregular, but just eating a plant-based diet has really helped kind of normalize hormones and the digestive kind of feelings. And when you really look at it from a holistic approach, it's not like, if I'm a practitioner and I'm working with somebody on their PMS or on their menstrual cycle irregularity, I would go back to the gut and I would go back to the building blocks of, okay, let's look at what the foundations of your hormones are and what's providing that communication. Where do we start? Most likely we're going to do some work in the gut and start to balance the blood sugar and approach it from the perspective of, just what's the root cause of this.
I definitely want to look further into seed cycling. I don't know if you've heard of that, but I know that I'd love to kind of delve further into that, especially women who use that just to support, not just simply when they're menstruating, but like to really keep that going throughout the whole entire month.
Totally. So seed cycling is, I do recommend it to people who are experiencing irregularities in their cycle. And off the top of my head, you're using like sunflower seed, primrose, and various other oils, and just like 14 days on a specific oil, and then cycling through another 14 days of using a different oil. There's also just like a really supportive seed blend that I like to keep in my freezer, which is pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, flax seeds, and chia, and you kind of like grind it, not to create a butter, but like so that it's a bit more of a powder. And you just keep that in the freezer, and you can add that to your salads and bowls and that kind of thing, even to a smoothie. And that has all those healthy omega-3s and 6s. And yeah, you can get that on a daily basis via that.
This is a perfect segue as well, because also just going back to you being a guinea pig, I'd really love to know what your watermelon fast was like. The mono diets, the 5-day mono diets. Personally, I don't know if I could ever give up peanut butter, but yeah, I'd love to know kind of your ritual of doing this with the arrival of each season.
So I do like to fast with the arrival of each season, and summer and spring is kind of like the only time you could really do that on a watermelon fast.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was inspired to do that based on some yogic principles that I was reading about, and it's definitely pretty out there, but I did feel amazing. It's not, like anytime you're fasting isn't really a time where you're super social and going out and expending a lot of energy, because there's not that much that you're creating in the body from food, so our energy levels naturally change. So it's a really beautiful time to just go inward and reflect and do some writing and focus on what is coming up, and just kind of hit the reset button on, like, let's take a look at where I'm going, where I'm at. What do I want these next 4 months to be about? Just setting new intentions and giving the digestive system a rest. And you kind of come out of it feeling re-energized and in very close connection to your body. So at the root of it, those are like, really beautiful things to come out of a fast from. And yeah, I'll just do like more soup-based warming foods in the winter, in the fall, and the watermelon melon one was, a really strange one, but it was good. I enjoyed it.
And having kind of covered all these subjects, and that you've gone to a place where your gut is at 100% healed, or is it, I don't know, can our guts be at 100%, or is it always...
I mean, there's no such thing as perfect, so yeah, you can do your gut healing, but it doesn't mean that it's not going to be sensitive once it would be ideal if we could get back to the place where every once in a while we're reintroducing some of those foods that we had to avoid. Like, yeah, I can have some sourdough bread now, and I'm totally fine. Or if I'm trying to think of something else, but I definitely go through periods. So, and healing is like, not that we're healing from like an ailment, but I definitely see it as this like ongoing way that I just support my body. But yeah, I definitely have things that come up where I'm like, oh yeah, I can't eat that. I should have known better. And then I kind of, I'm reminding that it's not like I still have a sensitive body.
Since coming from a state where you were previously at with your gut, do you feel that you'd be able to connect more with your intuition now that there is more balance?
Yeah, I do feel that way. But I think there's a lot of other elements that are contributing factors to that. I think having that function optimally really allows for, at the basic level, for our food to be absorbed and for us to get everything that we need from a cellular perspective and from a nutrition perspective. And if that's off balance, then sure, there might be some more cognitive disturbances or emotional disturbances or hormonal kind of imbalances, and that will contribute to just setting us off. So I think at the very core of it, it's very important to have strong digestion. But there's also other practices that make a lot of people intuitive, and that can range from yoga to just a really strong sense of self and trust in oneself and in the universe that they're being supported, and through meditation and those types of things. So I definitely think it's a range of different things that contribute to that strong sense of intuition, at least for me.
And do you have an example of a time in your life where it was guts versus logic and you went with your gut?
I mean, yeah, a lot of times. I'm trying to think of something specific. Guts versus logic. Yeah, I mean, like leaving, I would say that the scariest thing was just leaving a secure, well-paying job when I was 25 or 26, um, and venturing into the unknown world of starting my own business, and really just believing that that was my path forward and that it was going to be atypical and that it didn't involve an office job. And I really couldn't explain why I knew that, but I just had to trust it. And I resisted it for a little while until I just could no longer. But yeah, that was definitely like really following and trusting my gut and intuition that was telling me this is not right, you are not happy, it's time to make a change, and just like really trusting that I would be supported in that change. But now it all kind of like really flows, and the trust is just there on a more continual basis, and there's, the self-doubt isn't a part of it, and I just trust that the universe is supporting me in everything I do. And I believe that is true for everyone, and especially when we are at positions of change and are ready to make changes. Tonya Papanikolov, Guts and Glory, signing off.
This was Just Mushrooms with Tonya Papanikolov. Refer to the show notes to further get to know our guest. Share with us and show us some love by subscribing or get in touch to be featured on the podcast. Released every other Monday. Thanks for lending us an ear. Passing on the mic.